Hey guys, so today I wanted to show off my Ultimate Spider-Man 2000 run collection that I have now. This was done by Brian Michael Bendis and with artwork by Mark Bagley, and this was one of the cool new interpretations of Spider-Man they had done at the time of the early 2000s. And obviously, as a kid, I did not get the story all that much besides the action sequences, but I was really intrigued and drawn towards the art style. It was years later when I just got into story reading that I really liked this whole line again. And so I'm just going to show off the collection that I have. It's only been about a year since I started collecting, and I don't have all the copies with me, but I hope to get them soon. And most of the issues that I have in my Ultimate Spider-Man collection are the Gotham Comics, like the one that you see in front of me, but I do have a single copies as well that was printed in the US. So let's check them all out. Okay, starting first with the Ultimate Spider-Man Gotham Comics supersized magazine. This is the first issue. Well, not exactly the first issue, but this covers the first arc. It's actually a two-issue. I think I have it back to back here. So this is the second part. This altogether has the first 6 issues, which is kind of like the new retelling of the Amazing Fantasy 15 in this universe, where he gets his powers from the Spider-Bite from Oscorp. Norman tries to figure out what he is, and he loses Uncle Ben because Peter is just trying to try to experiment out what his powers are, but then he ultimately learns with great power comes great responsibility. And that whole, it was a very fleshed out and slow storytelling in this one compared to the original Amazing Fantasy 15. Now this stack here is all the Gotham copies, which are single issues. They are mostly all the prints that were there in India, except for one or two that was a Singaporean edition. So we'll check them out one by one now. So this is the issue number 1 that I got quite recently, which is the very first issue of the Ultimate Spider-Man from the 2000 run, and this has this cool artwork here, something that I was always very drawn to as a child. And looking at this, again, it has the same storytelling like I told you in the mega sized issue, but this is just a single issue copy, and I just miss these old Gotham comic ads. They're so cool and awesome. Then this is issue 3 and 4, which is still a continuation of the first arc of Ultimate Spider-Man. This still covers the whole line where Peter is still discovering his powers and he loses Uncle Ben, which is what we see at the very end of this issue. Next is issue 8, and I think it is in this one where Peter realizes that there is Kingpin who does the organized crime in this, and this is also where he gets his job at the Daily Bugle and starts working there. And this too is a follow-up of that arc where this is still his first confrontation with Kingpin, which he loses. Kingpin takes off his mask and finds out that he's just a kid, but then he goes back in this issue, fights Electro, and even towards Kingpin by actually revealing some of the scams that he had pushed away that gets published, putting Kingpin in a nickel. Up here is Ultimate Spider-Man issue 13, and this is actually one of my favorite issues because this is where he voluntarily first time reveals about his secret to Mary Jane, and their relationship actually in the storyline is very nice and very detailed as it explores the relationship from their teenage years, and so that's why I like this particular issue a whole lot. This is issue 14 following up next, and this is where we get our first glimpse of Doc Ock in this storyline. Issue 17, where there's another confrontation between Spider-Man and Doc Ock, and he also fights Craven in this, and then he gives his version of things to media, who until then was quite harsh on Spider-Man, telling him to be a menace, but then he speaks for the first time to the public in this issue. This is issue 19 here, and this is where Peter gets threatened by Norman, but then he decides to not quit being Spider-Man. That doesn't end well with Norman going to kidnap Mary Jane at the end of this issue. This here is the Singaporean edition. As you can see, the price is in dollars and not in rupees over here, but this is the follow-up, the exact follow-up to the previous issue that we saw, which is after kidnapping Mary Jane, he drops her, but then Peter does save her, and then he goes and fights with Norman Osborn in this issue. This is issue 22, and this is, I think, part of the story where Peter gets framed because of someone who's swinging in his costume, so the police are now on a manhunt for this guy, and he gets shot in this issue. And this is a similar follow-up to that storyline where Peter gets shot, and actually Gwen Stacy loses her dad, but Peter finds the imposter in this issue. So the next 3 issues are from the Venom storyline, which is my most favorite storyline because we get this whole new introduction to Venom, which was kind of cool actually. I just liked how they whole redid the whole symbiote thing and just had it tied in with Peter and Eddie Brock's parents' research, who were working as scientists, but then they died, and then Peter figures out why his father abandoned that research, but Eddie was jealous, and then it still corrupted him at the end, while Peter barely managed to escape. Now, in these next two issues that you see here, this is our first introduction of the X-Men in the Ultimate Spider-Man storyline. And what's pretty cool is you see a lot of the interactions of Spider-Man with X-Men in this universe. So it starts with this one where he meets Jean Grey, Kitty Pryde, and Storm, and he goes even to the X-Mansion and meets the rest of the X-Men in this issue. And the last issue that I have in my Gotham Comics single issue collection is issue 29, which is where he first meets Black Cat. And finally, here's a look at the single issues that I have. This is issue number 30, which is the same one where he gets shot at. We have issue 38, which is from the Venom storyline, which is where Eddie Brock, confronts Peter after he gets a piece of the symbiote on himself because he's jealous and doesn't trust Peter anymore. This is from the Carnage storyline where Gwen Stacy dies by Carnage. And a jump in a few issues later, this is the first cover appearance or first appearance of Anna Parker, who's Anna Parker or Annie Parker, I don't remember her name correctly, but this is like the clone of Peter Parker with that whole clone saga, which I have to say, even in the original Amazing Spider-Man run, I was not a big fan of it. It just got so confusing and irritating. This is like the epilogue of the Clone Saga, as you can see here. It says epilogue of the Clone Saga over here, which I where he mends the relationship with Mary Jane and things go bad between him and Kitty Pryde. A follow up to that is the Daredevil sessions, where Daredevil puts his own team with characters like Moon Knight, Shang-Chi, and Iron Fist to bring down Kingpin, and he also recruits Spider-Man in this. And issue 133, which marks the end of the first volume of this storyline. It continues after this one as well, but this was the end of the first volume. So that was the video, guys. So that was my entire collection of the Ultimate Spider-Man 2000 run that I have so far. I also have some posters that came with these single issues, but they're all packed in somewhere, and I have to dig them out, but they're pretty cool. And as you can see, some of these Gotham comics are not in all that great condition. There are some bends here and there and some light damages, but I mean, it's like been 2 decades, so it's been through a lot in this long time. And these paper qualities, while initially were good, later on they were not that great, which was one of the many reasons why Gotham Comics died ultimately. And all in all, I'm just glad to have this, and I hope something like Gotham Comics comes back, or they have a major comics manufacturing site here in India, because I mean, now the interest in India has grown a lot. So it would be great if they would just manufacture them in India, and it would not be as expensive to get them from the US. Anyways, I hope you liked the video, guys. If you did, please hit the like button, share this to any of your comic enthusiastic or Spider-Man friends, and be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more such videos.